Oh, and welcome back. Nice to see you still here. Actually, before we begin, did you know that according to experts, the most important part of the presentation is the first 30 seconds and the final 30 seconds? That's true, according to experts. I don't see anything happening. Typical experts, I don't trust them. So let's carry on my presentation. I don't know anything different. So, I think it's supposed to be me. Forget it, blown it, disaster. So let's 30 seconds discard. Let's carry on with the most exciting topic imaginable. Harvard reference system, the reference lists. Let's start with the obvious. If you've used Intext citations in the main body of work, and I hope you all remember Intext citations, refer to previous presentation, or do not tell me forgotten, you will need to include a reference list at the end. Now, some style guides call it, don't say reference list, they say references. It doesn't matter, just whichever way, we'll call it reference list for the presentation, but you could call it references. It's up to you. Right, note carefully. It's in the reference list that you present the full details of the sources that you have cited. And it must be done in a proper way. You've got to follow convention. A lot of students get referred, not for the main body of the work, because they haven't spent time on the reference list. Remember, the beauty of Harvard, and it is a great system, is that when you're actually writing your text, no, it's author and date, just remember we said the grammar. However, the onerous part of the system comes at the end when you have to put it all together, and it must be done the proper way. I want to emphasize that right at the beginning, okay? Right, let's look at the absolute essentials. We're going to go through the great details. The absolute essentials. You should list authors in alphabetical order. And if you're referring to books, those of you who still read books, I know most of you go on the internet, but the books still exist, they're in the library, it's worth consulting them. But we'll start with the books. You should give the following information. Okay, and I'll tell you what, it's actually worth memorizing this. I mean, it looks a lot, but it's because so you have to keep referring back all the time to style guide. We got there, surname, initial, may I please emphasize initial, not the full first name, or first names, year of publication, title of publication, if it's a book, will be in italics, edition number, unless it's the first edition, then you don't worry, but second edition, third edition, you put in, place of publication, town or city, and name of publisher. But as I say, see it as a formula, just memorize that. Yeah? Then, very important, look at the next section, warning. It's a small but important warning, which doesn't worry because it worries some students. You should also note that there are minor, but I please emphasize minor variations, normally in terms of punctuation, between some of the style guides. That's very important, both for the Intext citations as well as for the reference list. Now, these variations, please, do not matter. No lecturer can say to you, right, this is better than that one. They are variations. However, it's important, whichever system variation you follow, you are consistent. So that's why we go back to what I said right in the first presentation, stick to one style guide and use their particular form of punctuation. The main part does not change in the end because Harvard is Harvard, but it's not uniform totally, there are variations. So let's take some very basic examples so you can see what I mean by the variations and how to do it. So have a look there. Do you remember, of course, our friend Shane, who kept us so riveted in the first presentation, but he's back here. But there's the Intext citation, no need for you to read it. But note, now look at the, I'll give you two examples from just two style guides, because remember there are many style guides, they're not just those two, there's lots of different universities use style guides. Notice the slight differences, look at the initials, the punctuations. Notice how in the first there's no brackets in the year, in the second there are brackets. Okay, small, but the fundamentals don't change. Yeah, you've got the fundamentals: the author, initial, date, place of publication, in italics, the title of the book, place of publication, and the actual publisher. So the essentials don't change. Let's take a second example before you fall asleep. Yeah, quick look. Second example, and again, let's welcome, if you want an applause, why not, our friend Cameron and Green. Because I thought, well, let's keep to what we know rather than giving you to be a new example. Not because I'm lazy. It's honest. It's just it's called recycling. There, Cameron and Green. Same thing with two authors. Reminder, Intext citation. Have a look. I don't need to repeat. You're not blind. We're there. Again, have a look at the examples and reference list. Look again at the minor variation. Look at the initials. Again, look and see how the years are done differently. And also this time, note the difference is also just second edition. Look, that's a second ED, on the other one, EDN. Yeah? Small things, not for us to worry about. However, be consistent there. Okay, so that's the essentials. We'll come back a bit later to other areas, but they're the essentials that we need to worry about first when we're thinking about a reference list. But let's move on to something before we do anything else. A frequent question asked, and I want to address right now. Right, what's the difference between a reference list and a bibliography? Good question, glad you asked it, because if you didn't ask it, I would have asked it myself, because this is essential and it's confusing. Let us now unconfuse the situation. This is important. Right, follow carefully as I read through. Some academics make no distinction between a reference list and a bibliography, and therefore list all the sources they have consulted under the magic word bibliography. Now, if your tutor insists on that, it's no big deal, no problem. Okay? The problem, however, here is that the list will contain references that have been cited, in your work, together with references to sources that have not been cited in the assignment. Now, some tutors said that's not a problem. We want that in a full bibliography. However, note, surely, and most academics go with really what I advise you today, it makes more academic sense to make a formal distinction between a reference list and a bibliography in your own academic assignment, and particularly I think when it comes to something like a dissertation. References to all in-text citations should go naturally under the heading reference list. Now, under bibliography, you should make a list of all the other books, articles, etc. that you consulted but did not cite in the main body of your assignment. In other words, use the bibliography to show the extra and relevant, no, let's not get me wrong, relevant material that you read when putting together your assignment. The key information, however, is contained in the reference list. But if you want to impress your tutor, say, excuse me, apart from this, I've also read extra, absolutely do it too. But let me again emphasize, please check with your tutor, because remember, the tutors come from different universities, they come from different experiences and backgrounds, and some will argue that they want the full bibliography, others like myself say, no, make a distinction, that you need to check. But at least hopefully now we know the difference, then you choose. Now, that's the easy bits. Okay, please now all wake up. Please don't nod off. It's a very short presentation anyway. Please no, pay attention. This is exciting, remember that. Right, no, this is the key question. What is secondary referencing? And if you're thinking, well, I wouldn't have said that. Right, focus. This is the most important question of this presentation. So, good question. Whoever asked me that, well done. Let's focus here. In many cases, you will read a book or article which refers to the work of someone else. In other words, the book or article contains in-text citations. If you wish to refer to those in-text citations in your assignment, you must be very careful how you do so. And for most of you, that's what you'll be doing. You're reading an article. Within the article, that author's already done his or her research, and then you're quoting from that research. So, pay attention. Very important. Let's imagine you're reading a book written by Smith, published 2011. Yes, Smith. On page 135, Mr. or Miss Smith cites Thompson, 2009, who concludes, Thompson, not Smith, that psychometric tests are clearly a waste of time and resources, and you want to use that. So, in your in-text citation, you should cite this material in the following way. Start, for example, okay, right. According to Thompson, because it's Thompson's quote, right, notice brackets, 2009, because Thompson wrote that in 2009. However, cited in Smith, 2011, page 135, psychometric tests are clearly a waste of time and resources. So, we've got a bit more work to do, first of all, in the in-text citation, but that is very important to get it right. But then, note carefully, yeah? In your reference list, however, please note, you will not list Thompson 2009. Even though you started, here's your main, as it were, citation in your text. No. You only need to give the full details of Smith 2011, because the reference list should only contain works that you have read. In other words, you read, or at least pretending to read, or at least you read one page of Smith 2011. And inside that page was a reference to Thompson. So you can't put Thompson in your reference list. That would be very naughty. Okay? But also important, if you think about it, secondary referencing is what you'll be doing most of the time, particularly if you're using books or very scholarly articles. So that's very important. Okay, there we got our essentials. And then of course, panic again, yes. How do I reference a website, an article in a journal, an article in a newspaper, etc.? Okay. It's just as with in-text citations, you need to consult your style guide to see how you should reference specific sources for your reference list. And again, remember, okay, I'm recommending Anglia Ruskin, or there's also Cardiff University, and the Cite Them Right book. But remember, I'm just taking out 2 or 3. There are many, many other good style guides. So don't get me wrong, you find a good one, as long as it's hard referencing, if your tutor recommends it, use it. No big deal, but that's where you go to, okay? Some practical advice. Let's get the practicalities here, because this is not rocket science how to do this. Practicalities is where students fall down on. Compiling a reference list is time consuming. Now, make sure you understand that. Some references, particularly with regard to websites, will be very long. So take that into account when writing your assignments. Very often, I've seen it so many times now, students miss a deadline because they did not give themselves enough time to compile a proper reference list, or equally, students have their work referred because they haven't put enough effort into getting the reference list right according to the conventions that need to be followed. So it's important that you give yourself time. And I remind you, in the same way I started with the in-text citations, that the process of compiling a proper reference list is part of the academic discipline being tested when putting together an academic report, essay or dissertation. So don't leave it as some extra. It's not an extra. Your tutors are, at the end looking at that, and you're getting marks either added or deducted, just simply for nothing more than what's really a chore. It's like it is. It's boring. It's tedious, but it's part of the academic discipline. So, and every student has to do it. So it's not just you. So just be aware of that. However, what I'll do before we finish, let's have an emergency checklist. So here, have a look. Here's a basic checklist that you should try to remember when you're checking your reference list. So let's just go. This is your emergency, your own reference list, academic reference list. Number one. Make sure that you've listed the authors in alphabetical order. Okay, once you've done it all, just A, B, C, D, E, get that right. It's amazing how people don't, they forget. Secondly, I've seen this a few times, makes me laugh. Do not list a book twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, just because you cited the source once, twice, 3 times, 10 times in your assignment. Excuse me. List it once. You can't create a huge reference list with just one book alone. I've seen that a lot of times. So don't do that. No, if you want to, of course, in your main assignment, you put different pages, whatever you want to do. But no, if it's one book, you refer to it only once, unless it's a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th edition. Then you do so. Okay. Right. Number 3. Do not give the author's first name. Just give an initial or initials. Example, Foster J, it's not the beer, it's an author, 2009, not Foster John, 2009. It seems that we should do. No, that's not the convention. Only put the full surname, not the first name. Number 4. The title of a book needs to be in italics. That's the title of a book. However, number 5, be careful. If you refer to an article from a journal, put the title of the journal in italics, not the title of the article. And for articles, very important, for articles, not books, articles, do not forget to include the page number on numbers. You see the difference? Look at the example. Yeah, you see there with Johnson, 2009, conducting a formal appraisal, Business Weekly, right, that's the name of the journal, that goes in italics. And then notice there also the pages, the page numbers. Okay? But you'll get there to start your style guide, worth remembering. Number 6, for you, most of you, the most important, you'll be using the internet all the time. When listing a website reference, do not forget that the absolute essential information you must always have, you've got to have that, but is you must put available at and then the URL, and then when accessed. Those are absolutely essential. And then whatever else you need to put, we'll see. So let's take the example. You see very clearly there. Okay, it's taking Cambridge there, but notice available at blah, 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 and then access, and then saying when. Notice also when you put access, you put it in brackets, either round brackets or some sort of square brackets, small point. But there's a lot to do there. Okay, so those are the essentials. And that's it, folks. Nice and easy. Yeah? So, have a nice day. And happy referencing to you. Happy referencing to you. Happy referencing, dear students. Happy referencing to you.